I was like, I kind of like went crazy. I was like, no way are you guys doing this again. Like, I was like, I've learned all your tricks and you will never, ever do this to me again. And you're never like even alone. There's never anyone who you can talk to about real questions you might have. You're never alone long enough to even be able to think these questions on any given day. It's all those spot checks. It's all the interrogation. It's you have like 12 cleaning stations. You have like all these other duties. You have like so many statistics you're supposed to keep up with and mark on different graphs that get inspected daily. Your birthing has to be clean. Your shirts have to be ironed. Your shoes have to be shined. It's like just so many things going on that you don't even have a second to like try to figure anything out or what you even think about it.
So when you went out to LA, you said you had liked the boy back in Florida, but you never went back to Florida.
Right.
So that was history.
Yeah.
But you did end up meeting your husband former ex-husband in Scientology, right? So that was in LA?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was he in the Sea Org with you?
Yeah, he was in the Sea Org there.
Was he your age too, or?
He is 4 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so were you working with him directly and that's how you met, or?
No, he was in so I was in like the senior org and he was in the lower one. So he had to like call me sir.
He had to call you sir?
Yeah, or like Mr. Miscavige. I don't, for some reason they said Mr.
You're a woman.
I know, but like even like at the ranch, we called all the women like people who were senior to us. So like the adults at the ranch, they were our seniors. They weren't our caretakers. They were our bosses. And so we would have to call them sir or Mr. whatever if they were a woman. I don't even really know why. Do you know why?
It was a rule that L. Ron Hubbard created, and it's weird because that's not even the way that it is in the Navy. L. Ron Hubbard was in the Navy, so a lot of these Sea Org rules are supposed to be patterned after the Navy. For whatever reason, he specifically said if female officers are to be addressed as sir or Mr., and that rule just applied to also females who are in senior organizations. So like in the Sea Org, I called my wife sir.
No.
Yeah. He would have had to call me sir.
Oh, that's so weird. Like, have you fucked that up in the real world where you walk in and you talk to some woman and call her sir?
No, I haven't.
Good for you. Good
but
job.
I remember one time when we were like me and a bunch of kids were at my parents' apartment when we were still at the ranch. I was probably like about like 10 or something, and then the guy, it was like me and 3 other young kids my age, and the guy from downstairs, like he came up and he was a non-Scientologist, and he like came up and he knocked on the door and he said that we were being too loud and that he had a baby sleeping. He had a knife in his hand. He was like, you guys better shut the fuck up. You woke up my baby. Honestly, now I can relate. Like if anyone woke up my baby.
Oh my God.
Just joking. I can't really relate. That's psycho. But he was like, if you guys make one additional noise, then I'll be back. And me and the 3 other kids were like, yes, sir, all at the same time. It's just we called anyone who was older and a boss sir, but he was like a non-Scientologist, and I could tell that he kind of thought it was weird that we all said that at the same time.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay, all right. That was exactly what I was looking for, but wasn't expecting. Exactly. Yeah, that's so strange that you had to do that. So when you're first like flirting with who's going to be your husband, he's calling you sir.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you guys I'm just curious, like how much do you even understand? Like, I guess that's a natural human inclination, but like romance inside an organization like that, is it robotic like everything else, or did it flow a little bit for real?
I mean, I guess both things happen to different people, but like, so people in the Sea Org usually get married young because you can't have sex before you're married, and you can't like do anything besides like maybe like a little bit of kissing, and it is a natural human inclination.
Yes.
And so like people get married as young as 14, 15, like everyone does kind
14, 15.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I did get married when I was 18, but it was only because they wouldn't allow me to get married earlier.
So you met him when you were 16, right?
I met him when I was 16.
And how quickly were you guys engaged?
I mean, probably we're in a couple months. Yeah. So like
very quickly. Yeah.
My wife and I, when we got married in this year, we were engaged after a few weeks.
Yeah, that's normal.
And again,
that's
it took us a few months to get married, but again, only because they wouldn't let us.
Yeah.
We had to jump through some hoops.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
Totally normal.
Do you feel love, or is that just like puppy love?
So like at the time when I look back at it, I think that there is a stronger urge to get married because I lost all my family. I lost all my friends, and I just wanted like my own little family. And you also get your own room. I'm not saying it was all about that, but like you don't have to live in a dorm with people, so you kind of like get to like have your own things in there a little bit. And so it's like this natural urge to maybe just sort of have one person who might be on your side a little bit more than other people. And yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, I understand that. But like, do you think looking back on it, you felt love, or it was more motivated by the necessities?
I mean, I was 16, so like I did feel love, but like, and attraction.
Yeah.
But I also think that it was very much motivated by not feeling like I was alone in the world. Like I remember having these moments when I wasn't with my brother or my parents and any of my friends. I just remember thinking often like, God, I wonder if I could just like disappear and nobody would notice. Like, or is anybody really thinking about me? And like, you know, when I didn't see my grandma or my aunt again, it wasn't like I couldn't call them. Like we weren't writing letters and we weren't writing emails. So it was like anyone could just disappear, and everyone always did just disappear at any time. You know, you would see someone for months and then you would be gone or they would be gone. It just didn't matter. All that mattered was the organization. So I think like having somebody who is like legally your family member and who you live with, like having that was like just kind of like having a family.
Yeah. But you're also inside of a part of the organization, the Sea Org, that as you laid out and Aaron was explaining last night, like they don't want you to have kids.
Right.
Like they encourage against that. But did you have like an urge like that would be cool too to have kids? Like did you want to be a mom? Did you feel that kind of, you know, feminine instinct?
So at that time I didn't.
You're young at that time, but eventually.
Yes. So eventually I did. And I can tell you about why that came later. But he actually had wanted to have kids. I mean, he had joined the Sea Org when he was 18, but he had gone to regular school.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest attractions was that he would tell me stories about like growing up with his cousins and how they would ride motorcycles and go to the beach. And he had a car. And he's like, so he would kind of like, it was almost like the Harry Potter thing all over again.
Yes.
I would get to like hear these stories of like characters and escapes, and I loved that. And that was kind of like my favorite thing about it. And yeah, he was a really nice person. And so, yeah, that was like kind of addicting. And then we wanted to get married, but then they wouldn't let us get married because they thought that my parents would insist on coming to the wedding, and they were like kind of declared, and it was like all confusing, and it would be like a danger to the church. They thought that maybe they would meet someone in his family who would express some discontent with Scientology, and that they would like conspire together to take down the church. And so they wouldn't let us get married. So we wound up having sex before we got married.
Did they find out about that?
They found out about it because he wound up confessing to it.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happened? How'd you guys get in trouble?
And you know what? So, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because at this point, I was at the stage where I didn't tell them. I was getting interrogated every day, and I was telling
them. Like, I stood tall in there, motherfucker.
Exactly. Well, and
I'm hard.
Exactly. Well, and I would be like, and I feel really bad because I didn't work hard enough. But really, I was like, we had sex. So, like, that was just an example of me, like, not really. So I wasn't in the habit of giving everything. Telling them everything I did. I was just in the habit of getting through these confessionals.
But you've also been like, I don't mean to get like a little too personal here. So if I am, we can back off. But like, you've lived in in a completely emotionally repressed environment for 17 years. Your husband at least had lived in the, well, not yet husband at the time, but going to be, had at least lived in the real world. And sex is like the most emotional thing a human being can do. So in doing that, did something like unlock in you a little bit? Like, holy shit, like minus like, oh, this is great, you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think that it did. Like, I think that at some level, like when they started trying to separate us or say we couldn't get married, I was like, it had also, I had been separated from people so many times already that I kind of like went crazy. I was like, no fucking way are you guys doing this again. Like, I was like, I've learned all your fucking tricks and you will never, ever do this to me again.
Don't you cross her, Aaron. I could see that look in her eyes. Don't you cross her, man.
So, like, when they found out, they wound up, like, separating us. They, like, took him to, like, somewhere where I didn't know. And they tried to have me do heavy labor and interrogation. And I was like, fuck you. I'm not doing it. And I spent the whole next, like, 2 weeks, like, literally busting down doors to find him. Like, literally.
What does that look like?
So, like
I'm picturing you knocking down doors, but...
Yeah. So I knew that the senior most official knew where he was, and she wasn't telling me. And when I would knock on her door, she wouldn't answer, and so I would bust down her door. And then I would look at her, like, TV camera thing that she had to everywhere, and I would look at the papers on her desk, and I would see, like, I would see that it said Dallas Hill, and I saw that he was being... like, his confessionals were being done by somebody who I knew where they worked. So then I would go down to their office and I would bust down their door.
Oh my God.
When they wouldn't let me in, and I'd be like, where the fuck is Dallas? And then they would get in their car. I would follow them to the car. And then there were only a few places he could be. There were only a few Scientology buildings at the time. So there was like the L. Ron Hubbard Way. I worked at the one on Hollywood Boulevard, and I lived, above the testing center there. So I lived and worked on Hollywood Boulevard, and I checked all the rooms there. I checked everywhere I could. I asked all of his coworkers where he was. I was literally just like walking around being followed by somebody, but I was like causing a lot of trouble and a lot of like embarrassment for absolutely everybody involved. And then I would walk from Hollywood Boulevard to Sunset Boulevard on L. Ron Hubbard Way, and I would be like, where the fuck is Dallas? And I would follow security guards around, and so then at some point, like a really high official in Scientology, because I was causing bad PR, this is like literally the only thing they care about. Yeah. They came down and tried to talk to me, and they said I could talk to Dallas on the phone. And I was like, Dallas, where are you? And he was like, I love you, but if we get through our program, we can be together. And I was like, that's bullshit. They tell me that about everyone, and I've never seen them again. And I was like, just tell me where you are. And he's like, well, if I tell them, I won't ever be able to speak to my parents again. And so basically they're threatening him with his family, so he won't tell me where he is. So basically, like, at that point, I wound up literally like hanging myself out of the window of the 5th floor building on Hollywood Boulevard and saying, like, if you don't bring Dallas here, then I'm gonna let go. Because and on some level, I'm like, okay, would I really have done that? And I'm like, I did have nothing to lose. Like, I had no family. I had none of my friends. I didn't have Dallas at this point. And I did believe that I was a Thetan that would come back if I died. And, but at the same time, like, my motivation was that, like, I can't find him by looking for him. They could just be moving him one door down every time I see him. But if I do this, that's going to look really bad on them. Like, this is literally all they care about. They don't care if I die. They don't care if I'm in a horrible state of mind.
They care how it looks.
That's right. And if I die, the police will come. Mm-hmm. I'm the niece of the leader of Scientology. They won't want this. And they brought him there. Right.
Like the security, like, dragged him in, like, oh, here he is.
Yeah, and the executives that were there. Yeah, they're like, he's here. Yeah. And then So, and I was literally like, okay, tell me where you were. I was still stayed out the window. I was like, tell me where you been hiding. And it was basically in the basement of the blue building. He was being security checked. He was being watched day and night by security guards.
Mm-hmm.
He was being security checked by this one gal. She also like had audited Katie Holmes and stuff. So she was like known for being good at security checking. And like, you know, they have certain people who are like known for being really aggressive at being able to get people to tell everything. And so she was like one of those main ones. And yeah, they'd been threatening him with never being able to talk to his family again. And yeah, and basically from that point on, I was like, okay, well, I'm not like, then I came out of the window and I was like, they tried to separate us again. And I was like, no. I just like was like, no.
So they tried to like drag him away?
Yeah.
You said, I'm going back to the window now?
No. I was like,
yeah.
Now everything we do, we're going to do together. Like, and they tried to pry us apart.
And because of who you are, they ended up letting this happen.
They wound up letting this happen because I was a psycho, basically.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I mean, honestly, there's nothing else in the entire world that would have ever worked.
Yeah, no, this is like a whole different scenario. See, like in the real world, if we heard something like this, we'd call you like a stage 5 clinger. In Scientology, this is brave.
Yeah.
Because you should never have to do something like this. Like they're taking someone from you for no reason. Like just because they want to torture you. Like it's crazy. So that, I mean, that the bravery it takes to do something. I mean, put your body out there too, and also like say, I'm gonna let go. You better make this happen. Like obviously, if they let it happen, they must have been pretty. I don't know if they can be moved, but they must have been pretty shocked by the situation. Like, you know what? Fuck it. We're not dealing with this. Yeah. I've never heard a story like that within Scientology.
Yeah. It is pretty weird.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.